Hey Brian, you're muted.
There we go. All right, sorry. Now that they can hear us on Zoom. So anyway, this weekend I ran a Facebook ad um, on some duplexes that Delton listed. And it was 3 duplexes that were right next to each other, a total of $480,000 if they bought all 3. So I just did a Facebook ad. I took his pictures off the MLS and I put it in Marketplace and then shared it with probably 10 or 12 garage sale websites. I put it on Marketplace and then shared it to several of these garage sale websites on Facebook. So, you know, there was Southwest Oklahoma City garage sale, there's probably a Norman garage sale, stuff like that. So if you guys aren't joining those, join them. Especially the ones that say garage sale site, no rules. Join them.
Yeah, you read it.
Well,
No rules.
if they say no rules, that means you can post anything that Facebook allows. I mean, Facebook won't allow you to sell guns or animals, but they'll let you sell houses and we don't. So we're good on that. So anyway, I ran that one ad for free, by the way, for free. And I got 17 messages, at least 17 messages. And I picked up one investor that wrote an offer. And we're talking about $480,000 listing. He wrote a good offer. We didn't get it because somebody outbid us, but he wrote a good offer. And I picked up 2 other potential investors and 1 buyer off of one Facebook marketplace ad that took me 10 minutes. That's how easy it can be. I mean, you know, it's a little bit of a luck of the draw. You gotta pick your spots and find a good listing to do it on. But that's how easy it can be for y'all to get some new business and y'all to get some new leads and everything like that. So
Norman area garage sale.
Norman area garage. I try to do it for the area that wherever the house is. Like I've got a listing in Edmond, so I joined Edmond area garage sale, Northwest Oklahoma City garage sale, Guthrie garage sale, stuff like that. So I try to target it, but there's nothing wrong with putting it in, for example, Norman garage sale site if it's a listing in Edmond or Yukon or something like that, because they may not be interested. But I can't tell you how many times someone will tag someone else that they know in those posts so they can see it. Yeah. And then once you get a message, the key is actually follow up with them. Even like that property went under contract the next day. I was still following up with people 2 or 3 days later. say, hey, this one's sold, but I'll be happy to find you something else. What are you looking for? Everything like that. So, I mean, you just got to follow up with them. And that goes towards your contacts or your daily contacts. Okay? So we'll go ahead and get started with Perry. Perry Fottery, great mortgage guy. I've been working with him for 14 years.
Wow.
14.
Yeah.
Almost 15.
Yeah.
My anniversary in real estate's coming up. I got my license on March 1st in 2006. So almost 15 years. Perry's been there, done that, seen it all. And he's the one that I call for someone that's like, well, we may need some creative financing. And there's nothing wrong with creative financing, again, as long as it's not shady and it's not illegal. And I have all the faith in the world that Perry's not going to do anything illegal and get me in trouble.
How do you think I do in prison? That's a simple question. I mean, not well. That's how I run my life. How would I do in prison? No, not doing this.
Just stay out of prison.
So let's see if we can downsize this so everyone can see the presentation that you've got. Okay.
Short and sweet. I try to keep everything short and sweet, guys. I'm more conversational in when I kind of do these. So today what we're going to go over is just the hot spots on a contract that we see a lot of mistakes or things that cause heartburn. Okay. And I'm not going to go over everything because it doesn't apply to me. The second thing is, out of all of this, we really don't care what you put on the contract, by the way. What you put on the contract has nothing to do with my money. You probably didn't know that. At the end of the day, if you submit an FHA contract, but the borrower doesn't qualify and they have to go conventional, we switch the loan. So none of this stuff is in stone. But what I wanted to cover is just the hot button issues that we see that cause heartburn. And it's all really simple stuff. And this is only 11 slides too. Okay, so this is just in general. And I've excerpted the actual contract, and so I cut it out. But this is probably one of the biggest issues we have. You get somebody under contract, you're like, hey, I need to get your earnest money. And they're like, what? What's that? Then they say, okay, they run to 7-Eleven, they give you a money order. You guys ever done that?
I've had people give me money orders for.
It happens a lot with you.
A lot.
You know what the problem with that is? Any ideas? Exactly. So the borrower has that money into the game and he's like, okay, so I need 10,000 closing cost and down payment. I gave you 1,000, so I now only need 9. Well, when we submit it to underwriting, the underwriter's like, hey, let's verify earnest. We get it from the title company or the realtor, and it's a 7-Eleven money order. That's cash. We don't do cash in money, ever. The reason that this is okay sometimes is because if you have a cash buyer or you have somebody who's getting financing through a commercial bank that doesn't care. So there's lots of ways where it wouldn't matter, but if they're doing a standard 30-year fixed loan, FHA, VA, USDA, or conventional, it does. So if they give you a money order, just say, hey, I can't use this. The other issue is it's not from the same account. For example, husband and wife buy a house. For some reason, the husband can't be on the loan, so we're just going to use the wife. But the husband wrote the earnest money check out of his corporate account. If you're going to do that and you want to give them credit at close for it, you now have to get that asset statement for 60 days. And whatever's in that could blow your deal up, you've just opened Pandora's box. So most lenders want the minimum documentation to close a deal. So if we ask somebody for earnest money verification and it came from a different account, now we have to get that account asset statements. And then there's a ton of mass deposits from who knows where. So we can't really source the earnest money. Then we're having to make changes right before closing. What that does is causes heartburn for the client, which then the client blames you, because they always blame you for everything, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's me or it doesn't matter. So as a general rule, don't accept money orders, don't accept cash. And when you get it, if you get a check and it comes from a corporation, I mean, there's a lot of self-employed people out there. And just kind of let your clients know, hey, the earnest money, it needs to come from the same account that your funds for closing are coming out of. It'll make your life easier. Because any heartburn I have rolls to you, right? I mean, any issues I have rolls to you, and then it rolls to your client, and then it makes for a transaction that's not lovey-dovey, and we don't want that. Okay.
So tell them, your clients, because the reason why it happens with me a lot, like Perry said, is I have some younger clients and I've ran into younger buyers that they have a bank account, but they never got checks. They don't use checks.
Right.
When's the last time you guys wrote a check? Nobody has checks. So I tell them, get a cashier's check. Yes, it costs you $1 extra than a money order. Big whoop. Get a cashier's check from that bank out of that account. Or go get a free temporary check from the teller at your freaking bank. Either one is okay. But a money order, they don't know where that money comes from, and we can thank the money laundering people and terrorists for that. They've got to source the funds. They got to know where it comes from.
Also, maybe go into a little bit of why it's important, why they know where it comes from, or where they can verify it.
So are you guys familiar with the, I'm sure you are, Patriot Act and anti-money laundering statutes? Mortgage banking falls into that. So it is so hard to explain to somebody. Unfortunately, I have to document this because this falls under anti-money laundering and the Patriot Act, which is, pretty strict regulations. Try telling that to a 70-year-old trucker. I mean, they just lose it. They're like, what? I mean, and it happens, and they get really upset. And they're like, are you accusing me of being a terrorist? It's like, no, it's just the regulation. So if you can avoid money orders, cash, that'd be great. Does anybody have any questions?
What if like some money was gifted from, say, their mom or someone, would they have to have proof?
Yes. So the assets are the bane of every mortgage banker's existence. The absolute bane, because people do crazy stuff. Absolutely crazy stuff. I had this conversation yesterday, and if you're new to the real estate game, rely on your lender. We're here for you. Don't write a contract. If you're worried about documenting anything, just call your lender. If it's gift funds, we don't care where the money comes from, as long as it's a viable donor. And the way we document that is there has to be a relationship. Now, a lot of lenders will say, well, it has to be blood relative. No, it doesn't. It's the regs say that it has to be someone with a close relationship. Define that. I mean, my best friend and I have been best friends for 30 years. I've only been married to my wife for 15. Which relationship's stronger? Well, if you asked my wife yesterday, that one was. Today it's different. I don't know. We'll see. I'll check her temperature and get back to you. But at the end of the day, it's like it can come from a lot of it depends on how creative your lender is and how, at Spur, we know where the line is and we'll never cross it, but we'll bend it like Beckham if we can. I mean, because we have a duty to serve our client. At the end of the day, you get 30 days asset statements and a donor letter, and then you track each part of that transaction. It can get as strong as a copy of the check. Now, if they write it for earnest money, you do have to get a canceled, actually. If they write it for earnest money, they have to give you a copy of their bank statement showing they have the ability to do it, and then they have to show that it cleared the bank. So, which can be kind of weird. Because your donors often, especially now, especially with older donors that are 60 plus, they don't want to give it to you. They don't want to give you that document. They're like, no, you're not entitled to that. I just gave them the money. That's all you need to know. And it's like, well, okay, you can loan them the money then. for the rest of the purchase, because I'm not gonna finance them, because I'm not allowed to without the documents. So it gets kind of like a little bit intense, but you know, you can get away with most stuff as far as donors and all that, as long as you got the documentation. If you don't have it, you're not getting anywhere. It's just an absolute requirement. Okay.
Can they do gift funds for any loan, or is it just FHA?
Now you can do it for any loan. Conventional, you can actually, you know how you have to, the borrower had to qualify on their own if they had a, that's all changed. Unless it's investment property, gift funds apply to any loan now.
Okay.
Years ago, you couldn't do a conventional loan with gift funds unless you put down 20%, which kind of made the gift funds pointless, right? So, all right. Next is personal property. So you know the additional inclusions. I mean, I can pull up a contract, show where it is in the contract, but you know, you got that additional provisions part. I think it's page 4.
Yeah, it's the top of page 3 or 4. I can't
Yeah.
remember which one.
So anyway, okay, if your client's buying a house, don't say, we want the furniture, we want the John Deere tractor. I had that happen last week. We see it a lot. With real estate financing, unless you're doing a commercial loan, if it's a standard vanilla loan, no personal property, no tractors, no furniture. Like a hot tub, that's okay, because that's kind of attached. But
refrigerators, washer and dryers, see it all the time.
you can actually do those, because those are part of it. I mean, but like personal property, that's not really.
But what's the line though? Because I've had some lenders throw a fit about them saying including the refrigerator on the additional items left.
Well, the appliances are fine. Anything outside of appliances or a hot tub, no.
So like the tractor, riding lawnmower.
Yeah, that's the one we see the most. It's the John Deere tractor, and usually on acreages. I signed a $700,000 contract. John Deere tractor will not stay with the house in bold. So they really like that tractor. So just basically no personal property. Don't do furniture, don't do TVs. I got into it once. A guy did a custom build and he suckered the builder into putting in 10 flat screen TVs. This was when flat screens were just brand new in the rage. And he thought that that would be part of his appraised value. And this was back when flat screens were like $1,500 each, and he had 10 of them. He was big into sports, and it didn't appraise. And he goes, "Well, you didn't include the TVs." And I was like, "We don't include TVs in appraised value." And that's a good way to think about it. Is would this really? Because that's what it does. If you have to get a little deeper, if you have a John Deere tractor, and that's part of the purchase price, it can't be part of the appraised value. So the appraiser is required to deduct the value of that from the purchase price. And that gets a little nutty, and we never let it get that far because you can't really do it. But so if your client says, "Hey, I want the drapes," honestly, that's attached. It's okay. But if it's a TV, no. If it's a tractor, no. Hot tub, yeah, okay. Appliances, yeah, okay. That's really about it. I'm trying to think of some really good ones that I've had in the past.
If you have anything that the buyer's wanting, or that the listing agent has put in the remarks that this can stay with the property upon acceptable offer, if you're concerned about it, don't put it on the contract, put it on a separate addendum. A blank addendum that you're adding to the purchase contract.
And we'll cover that in a little bit too. That little blanket addendums, my friend. Okay, so I'm going to move on to FHA. So a lot of people get confused on what to put in on the loan amount. So this is just a simple formula. Purchase price times 0.965. That's your FHA loan amount.
So it's the purchase price minus their
Down payment.
down payment.
So if it's a $100,000 purchase, it's $96,500. So I like formulas, quick and easy. Now you don't have to put the MIP, okay? Mortgage insurance premium. And I'm not going to go into all that. If you guys want a training on how to calculate FHA and MI and how to really dig into that, which you need to know when you do a buyer's net sheet, right? I mean, plus, we literally had a conversation yesterday where a buyer was like, my realtor didn't go into this. And the tone that she had was not a good one. And, so now we've started this transaction with a little bit of sour to it, which we never liked. But this is a real simple formula. You don't have to put the MIP in there. That's my job to explain that to the client. If you do understand how it all works, have you guys been trained on all that?
I think in school, in the pre-licensing.
Yeah, listen to him from now on. Don't remember any of that stuff. Okay. The amendatory clause. Now, this is one that really gets interesting because, and it's the same with VA. As you know, if it does not appraise, the buyer gets a free walk. In Oklahoma, they do on every loan program. But here, you basically just put the purchase price in, right? Like it has to just appraise for the purchase price. And it's a great conversation starter with the client if you're worried about your appraised value, right? Like I had this last week, and it was the John Deere tractor guy. We know it's not going to hit value, right? The listing agent sent comps that are literally cheaper with a really cool pool and a 60 by 30 shop, right? I mean, that's a major value proposition when it comes to the shop. So we know it's not, so the realtor used this addendum, it's not FHA though. The realtor used the addendum to explain to the client, hey, by the contract terms, if we're worried about value and it doesn't hit value, you can walk. And I only bring this one up because it's going to become more of an issue in 2021. I mean, we saw such mass appreciation last year that we're starting to hit kind of appraisal issues.
There's got to be a ceiling.
There's got to be a ceiling because the data doesn't, appraisers are not fast enough to get the new data in, right? I mean, it's just something we've always had to deal with in a rising market. Okay. FHA allowable and non-allowable costs. Were you guys trained on this in school? There's no such
If
thing.
you did,
That's okay.
I don't remember.
Well, we get these contracts in and they have things in there like FHA will not allow to pay an amount not to exceed $500. It's like, well, that doesn't exist anymore. FHA allowable, the borrower can pay for anything with one exception, flips. So if you have a flip property, FHA has a rule, if it's 0 to 90 days, you can't even enter into a contract. And so if you enter into an FHA contract on a flip transaction where the owner purchased it 60 days ago, you got to void the contract. And the problem is if we order a case number without knowing it's a flip, all hell breaks loose, okay? Because now it's pretty much prohibited. So from 0 to 90 days on an FHA transaction, if it's a flip, you cannot enter into a contract. I had it happen last year and it was a bad scene.
And that's from, by the way, that 0 to 90 days is from when the sellers purchased it. If they purchased it 6 months ago, you're okay. If they purchased it 3 weeks ago and, they slap some lipstick on the pig and are trying to flip it, that's where the 90-day rule kicks in.
So anyway, if it is a flip between 90 and 180 days, second appraisal. You gotta have 2 appraisals. They want to double down on the appraisal to verify it's not a bad deal. Now, the buyer cannot pay for that appraisal. Most flippers I know, like most of the flip transactions I've had in the last several years, they knew exactly how to play the game. I mean, they wrote the contract on day 91. And when I told them the buyer can't pay for the appraisal, they were like, yeah, we know, send us an invoice. So most of them have gone, they're aware of what the game is with their transactions. So I would recommend if you're doing an FHA transaction and you know it's a flip, like if it's recently remodeled or rehabbed, and just find out when the seller bought it, okay? So that your buyer doesn't get jammed up. The next clause is the allowables, which everything's allowed now. Seller paid closing costs, 6% on FHA. $100,000 loan, they can pay $6,000 closing costs. $200,000 loan, $12,000 closing costs. But you got to question why your closing costs are so high. That's where you plug that in. So, and that's crucial now because they don't, I mean, the buyers aren't getting the sales concessions they were 4 or 5 years ago. And so they have to know what the seller can pay and what the seller is willing to pay. Big difference, right? Okay. But anyway, you don't even need to just put 0, okay, on the, not seller paid, on the non-allowables. Okay. FHA real estate survey. It's got to be signed. You know, it delays closing. Now, it won't with us. I mean, we have it signed at close a lot of times, but it's just, you know, when you underwrite a loan, you have conditions, right? Okay, your borrower needs to do this, 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 this. The more conditions you have, the longer it takes. So if that real estate cert is not signed, it's just, you got to send it to the listing agent. You got to send it to the seller. You got to send it to the buyer. And if there's a counter offer, that changes it a little bit.
You still have to sign the certification part with the counteroffer, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, the cert's different. It's below. Okay.
The good thing about this office is that won't get through with Bob, so it won't get to closing without that signed.
And we love that. We love it when there's QC involved. Because I've had, this goes back, like this happened twice. But I've literally had sellers refuse to sign it just because they could. No, now I'm not signing that. And it's like, well, then you're not closing. There's a rule. He with the gold makes it. Lenders make the rules, period. I mean, and you know, that it's one of those kind of situations where now with COVID and with the economy and the risk that we're facing, to be real blunt, get over it. You're gonna play by whatever, I don't care if it's Cornerstone, Great Plains, Spur Mortgage, we all play by the same rules, believe it or not. And so, you know, there's a lot of buyers are used to an easy process. Well, that's changing now. You know, the documentation requirements, the minutia that we're having to endure from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac is pretty hard. It's rough. I mean, you talk to a mortgage banker, they'll tell you 2020 was a great year from a pocketbook standpoint, but from a risk standpoint, it was touchy. And let me just give you a few examples of little things like this. When we send a loan upstream, which everybody sends their loans upstream, right? That's how the system is structured. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac can push downwards as well. They push back. In 2019, I had maybe 2 deficiencies, right? Where a loan closes and then they call you up and say, hey, you missed this or you missed that. That has quadrupled in 2020. And it's little things like this doc wasn't signed, you know, this was not notarized properly, like the closing, something wasn't done. I mean, it's getting bad. So these little things make all the difference in the world, and they make your transaction go smoother. And because they get to make the rules and we have to play by the rules, I have no end to that sentence. We just have to deal with it. How's that? So this is VA. Now, if you notice, we just covered FHA in like 3 slides. It's not hard. It's just the minutia that when you submit a file and you're ready to get it to the table, these little things that you took a vacation in the middle of the transaction, you're down at the lake with your family, and your lender's like, you need a real estate insurance signed by all the parties. You know, you're like, oh, great. So now you got to go and jump through hoops again. So on VA, the same thing on the amendatory clause. they get a free out, and they get a free out on conventional too. But the reason I put this in is buyers don't understand that if it doesn't appraise, they can walk. And this year, that's going to be a bigger issue because of, values. And just use that as a way to make them feel better if there is a value issue, that it's their choice, that the seller cannot, because I've had this conversation recently too many times where the buyer is like, what happens if it doesn't, do I get to walk or do I have to make up the difference? It's like, no, it's part of your contract now. Just read this, you get a free ride. Okay. This is the one that, how often do your clients make an offer without being pre-approved?
Hopefully never.
Yeah, I don't do business with anybody that doesn't require it. Like, I don't know any realtors that would make an offer without them talking to a lender first. But okay, this is. Can you see this? Oh, see, this is USDA. You familiar with USDA loans? 100% financing. When you calculate your loan amount, it's the purchase price. It's that simple. You don't put the MI on there. So we see this where the realtor will put the MIP as the loan amount, right? Purchase price plus the MIP. But what I don't get is, why do they have private mortgage insurance on a federally insured government loan? Who wrote their contracts? So, but that's really it. I did want to pull up. I got to go to my email. Okay. And this is an email that I can send you guys, but back to VA real quick. The VA has some tricky rules. The borrower on non-allowables, VA non-allowables, that is the thing. The problem is there's so much confusion among realtors about what VA's non-allowables are. It's basically, they can't pay the closing fee at the title company. So the closers generally, if they know it's a VA loan, will wrap it into something else if it's an issue. The termite, who pays the termite is debatable, right? Termite is required in Oklahoma on government loans. We're a termite state. So, but this little thing kind of goes through what the fees can and can't be paid. Now, this is a nationwide bulletin, so there's fees. I'm just going to go straight to it. And the problem is VA borrowers are a different breed of cat. Okay, like these are people that they know what VA loans, if you talk to a mortgage banker, are probably the best. And the reason they are is because you get a guy who's VA eligible. 9 times out of 10, you tell them what you need and they're squared up, right? They get it to you because they dealt with the Veterans Administration one way or the other, whether it's the GI Bill or whether it's other benefits. So they know that in order to get to the closing table, they got to give you what you need. So they're fantastic loans. If you can, the more VAs you can do, the better your life will be, okay? Just to be blunt. I mean, you take a guy who's coming out of the Air Force, he's used to yes sir, no sir. Yes ma'am, no ma'am. What do I need to do to, they're just used to it. And so to be quite candid, they're some of the best loans out there and they're some of the easiest transactions, minus the appraisal issues. But they do have a lot of confusion. So what happens is these guys hop online, because this is where they are kind of bad. They'll hop online, they'll read something, they'll go, well, I read that the VA, I'm not allowed to pay this fee and that fee. I'm not allowed, the seller has to do this. And it's like, yeah, no. Unfortunately, these things change quite a bit. So This tells you exactly what they can and can't pay. Cannot be charged. That's it. But for your purposes in the state of Oklahoma, because it is kind of regional, by the way, they just can't pay for like the closing fee at title, $300. They can't pay for, depending on the investor, the termite, right? Termite inspection. That's a non-allowable depending on investor. It depends. There's debate over what is and what this even means within lending. Just know that, you know, your lender will do their fees and all that other stuff based on their interpretation of these guides. But there are some things that the VA will not allow the veteran to pay for, okay? It shouldn't really impact you as the realtor unless you're really tight on closing costs or something like that. Now, on a VA loan, the seller can pay up to 4%. So a $100,000 loan, they can pay $4,000. On a $200,000 loan, they can pay $8,000. Where it gets weird, the seller can pay off a borrower's credit card if they want to. The way the VA interprets it, the seller, they can pay 4% of closing costs or anything that benefits the veteran. I've seen sellers pay off judgments. I'm not kidding.
Wow.
To clear the title?
Oh, well, they don't, yeah.
Yeah, just so it goes through.
If it benefit now, which really kind of sounds weird because you can't put a TV on the contract on a VA loan, but they can pay the buyer's judgment.
Pay off their Best Buy card that they use to buy that TV.
I've got a buddy of mine who works for Arvist, and I swear he does it intentionally. He just finds things for the seller to pay. Like, you can do anything you want. Well, let's have him pay off your car, you know? So that's one of the weird things about VA is if it benefits the borrower, the veteran, it's usually allowed, which is nuts. Now, I would not go down that road, but just know that on VA loans, if you've got a termite, just make sure that your seller's a little bit, if you got a listing, you just say, hey, if we do a VA loan, you might have to pay for the termite. No big deal.
Speaking of VA loans and termites.
Yeah.
How do you want us to address a VA loan on new construction? Because obviously they treat the foundation when they pour it, so there no termite inspection is even required.
No.
So we just have to get a termite certificate from the builder?
So what that is the NP forms. You want me to just pull them up online real quick?
I mean, how do we address that?
Oh, the builder provides the forms. Yeah, your lender, like what we do is we call them exhibits. We send them new construction exhibits, which depending on the one, like FHA, there's 3 or 4 forms. And then you've got to get what's called an NP 99A and B. And those forms are basically just the termite company fills out. It's just an affidavit basically of what we did and a certification that we treated it. There's lots of ways to treat new construction. I mean, they do all kinds of different systems. But normally the builder they'll know exactly what to ditch. I mean, you don't deal with termite at all on any loan for new construction.
Right.
Um,
And what's the rule on how old, because like there's a realtor in the office here that he had a builder that one of them, the house sat there for 4 years. And it wasn't technically new construction anymore.
No.
Sat there for sale for literally 4 years. At that point, what's the cutoff basically? How old does the house have to be before a termite inspection is required? A year old? So if it was
okay, so new construction is defined as 1 year from the date of CA. Okay, so
certificate of occupancy.
yes,
Okay, so if they never get that,
the
for
CA.
whatever reason, the certificate of occupancy because there may be a builder out there that's like, well, we still gotta put on the cabinet door, so we're not getting their certificate of occupancy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, if it's within a year, you're fine. But if
Okay.
it's outside of a year, yeah, you're getting a new termite. I mean, yeah, that's kind of a,
And his builder, the reason why I'm asking is his builder basically balked at paying for a termite inspection because it was a VA loan on a house that had been sitting there for a while. It's like, it's never been occupied. Well, the MLS
Bugs don't
says it was
care.
built in 2017, you know?
yeah, but you know, that's, and this is sort of like, you know, how the minutia just complicates things, right? Like really, we're gonna have an argument over a termite. You just didn't want dinner last night, you know? And that's kind of how I equate things, right? Like there's times we have to order a final inspection and we're not allowed to charge the borrower. You don't sweat that stuff. I mean, you know, that's, I mean, you can, but so the builder's sweating $125 termite.
Yeah, he didn't want to pay for it. He ended up paying for it because it was like, well, either pay for this or the deal's busted because the loan's not gonna get approved.
Yeah.
He finally saw the light, he's like, oh, okay, I'll pay for it.
Remember, he with the gold makes rules. I mean, that's the funny part about it. It's just gonna get worse.
But it was just, I was laughing because I was like, really, $125 or $100 termite inspection, you don't want to pay for
No,
it.
okay. So I wanted to. So see, okay, I can't, oh, I can use this. So this whole contract and this term right here, within 5 days, is interesting to me. Here's sort of your addendum, your FHA language that on the appraisal here, right? I can't see the mouse. So now it's, you got 3 days. And the reason I'm bringing this up is I think it's going to be an issue this year. I mean, I mean, we're still hammered busy. I mean, our phones are ringing, people are buying homes. It's going to be a great year for real estate. I mean, it's going to be challenging because we don't have enough inventory, and that's just driving me nuts. Can't imagine how you guys feel. I mean, it's insanity. What's the inventory here?
Bad.
Yeah.
I'm only half joking with the comment of, remember how hard it was to find toilet paper in April? Yeah, that's real estate right now.
That's a good analogy, actually. I hadn't even thought about that. I have a client, and he's picky, which picky in this market is not a good name. And the agent calls me and I'm like, hey, what's going on? What's the deal, man? And she's like, hey, man, in his price point between I-35 and Hera, which that's a chunk of distance, there's 36 homes. And I'm like, you're messing up. She's like, I'm not kidding. And she wasn't, and she's really good. And I was like, there's, in his price point, 173, roughly, 36 homes in the area. And that just blows my mind. Well, we need transactions to set baselines for appraisals. We need them, you know, and you know, the appraisers can only incrementally jump so much. Have you guys ever seen an appraisal? Okay, yeah, you ought to check one. I'll get one to you. It makes sense why they take, you know, so long and all that because of how much data is in there. Well, part of it, you've got USPAP guidelines, and this, so USPAP is the regulating body for appraisers. They tell them how to do it, what to do, and on an appraisal, there's just tons of little boxes. Those data entry points kind of work within each other, so they work together. It's not like you can't look at it and go, okay, this box says this, that they all interrelate. Well, what we're going to start seeing is what we call gross adjustments, which if you have a gross adjustment on an appraisal of 10% or more, that's a red flag. But with values now increasing in some areas 13% year over year, we've seen it in certain areas. That's, you've already got an adjustment problem. So I think we're going to start seeing that here.
Yeah, in Midtown and Paseo District and stuff like that, and around that general area, yeah, it amazes me. We're seeing houses listed for the high 200s per square foot, low 300s per square foot, which is insane to me.
Get over it.
I mean, it is what it is. If it appraises, it sells, okay.
That's the thing is, I live downtown. And I have comps, you keep your appraisals. And I do a lot down in the core. And the price per square foot jumps we're seeing, not only are they scattered, but it's almost impossible for appraisers to deal with. I mean, you know, I have technically the highest comp in downtown Oklahoma City. It was a loan that I did in Sosa District. Per foot, right? Highest per foot comp, not the biggest house. And we did 2 appraisals on it. It was over $1 million. But now that builder called me and he's getting ready to start another one, and I'm doing the loan for his client, and we're already talking about the appraisal. Man, he literally just closed the construction up. So we already know what kind of, you know, pressure we're under, but it's here to stay. I mean, we have to get over it. I wasn't kidding about that. And it's hard for me because, you know, I bought homes in downtown at $19 a square foot 10 years ago, right? I know. My wife thinks I'm brilliant. She does, because of that. And my father-in-law, we forced him to buy 3. He does not think I'm brilliant. But he loves the cash flow. So watching that over the last 10 years has been just insane, but it's here to stay. And you guys are the age that's doing it, by the way, because you're all coming back from New York and California, and you're like, well, in California, I paid $3,000 a month, so this is a steal. Am I wrong? No. Yeah. So at the end of the day, that's just kind of how it's working. But it's seeing pressure. I've had more bad appraisals, meaning not hitting value, out of downtown than ever this year, 2020.
Yeah.
Constantly. All right.
Okay. I've given several of you Perry's phone number, email address, and website. If I haven't given it to you, then I can. Do you have any cards to pass out or anything?
No, not right now.
I got some.
There you go. Someone does.
Yeah.
Someone does.
So real quick, you know, he's talking about lead gen. I brought these 2. These guys are young and hungry and good and aggressive. But this is Eli, this is Richard. They're loan officers at Spur. Can you give them 5 minutes, 2 minutes each to talk about lead gen and the systems, listing booster and list reports?
Stephanie has to talk about
Okay.
something real quick.
No problem.
And then just
Say
we can hang out.
Can you do 1 minute? I've got an important conversation. Are you sure? If they can do 1 minute each,
No, go ahead. Not gonna
save me to the end.
That's relax. Thanks for your time, guys. Feels like
Yeah.
an
Thank you for doing this. You guys, do you appreciate that? Yes. Get my hand. Come on.
We're gonna step out for a bit.
Okay.
Chat with you later.
Okay.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. All right. Hey, Gay. How we doing? Doing good. Good. So I asked Ryan if I could come in and have a conversation with you guys. And I wish everybody was here. And yet, okay, because you know what's wonderful about this group? If I say something, it gets spread. So actually, what we're really gonna do is I need to address kind of like an elephant in the room, okay? Teams. Many people have said, do I need to be on a team? Should I not be on a team? What's the difference in being on a team? And I really felt that I needed to really kind of dispel some myths. Because what I didn't realize is what people think a team is and what it really is are sometimes off. It could be different things. And then all of a sudden someone says, I need to be on a team. And then when I sit down with them, they're like, oh, So instead of doing one-on-one conversations, because it seems like everybody seems to ask the question, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna come in and address this group. So here's the scoop. What do you think the pros are being on a team? Come on, let's just make this a conversation. What do you think the pros are?
More business.
Huh?
More business.
Lots of
Okay.
leads.
Structure, okay, a TC, okay, right, transaction coordinator, contract closed out.
A process, yeah,
Mhm.
as new, it's hard to figure out that process and structure.
Okay,
Accountability.
okay, okay. Any thoughts? Hey, what do you think?
Potential collaboration.
Okay.
Might be this access to more experience.
Okay.
Right there, to your
Okay.
contacts list.
Yeah, okay, so all of those things are actual, but let me tell you what reality is. For new people, you think you're gonna go on a team and they're gonna say, lead for you, lead, who's leading? Who's doing this?" It doesn't happen, because you haven't earned the right to that yet. Let me tell you what, when people, this is why everybody that is interested or having a conversation about a team, they must come through me. Whether it's a brand new agent or an agent in production, or if it's a team looking for someone. They're not allowed to come and do all this with you guys. They're not, that's not the protocol. So people come to me. And let me tell you why they come to me. Because I know you. Because I recruited you guys. I gotcha. I know your personality. I know where you're at. I know you. And if a potential team is interested in hiring someone, I'm gonna know if there's gonna be a fit or not. We've already seen some things blow up. I say that with all respect, because I knew both, and it was not a match. It was not a match, and I knew it, and I could have stopped it. So, but I want to really, let's get real about teams here for a second. You guys are on a team. There's your rainmaker. He's your team. This is gonna be the biggest team in the office. And when poor Brian isn't, he's waiting for that contract like I am. I thought if I have to sign it today, I'm signing it. Let's do that. There's gonna be a recording, right? Because this is a team. This can be accountability. This can be leads. This can be all of those things that you think you're getting on a team. Because the misnomer is, I met with somebody, and I'm not mentioning names or anything, but it truly was the assumption that when you're on a team, you're gonna sit there arm in arm with everybody in your team. You're gonna be talking together every day. You're gonna be locking arms, and you're gonna be learning more. You're gonna be going, and that is not it. You're gonna be on the phone, doing all the stuff that you should be doing now for the team. They want to see what you're made of. And if you're not gonna do it here, do you think they're gonna hire you there? So I need to remove it from your brain that that's the easy button. That all of a sudden you're gonna have leads, just here you go. Because a lot of them work very hard for those leads, whether they pay for them or whether they have just nurtured them and nurtured them and nurtured them. Until you're up and ready to go, meaning you know what you're doing, they're not going to just hear. It just isn't gonna happen. So I need everybody to be aware of that. Now, we're gonna have another little exercise, because I'm gonna need one more minute. And you guys can still stay there, whoever's watching, but I want to show you what the money looks like. Because I think you need to know. So imagine for a moment, I'll do it right here. Say we have a $200,000 house. Okay? 3%, 6,000 GCI. Okay? So this is what it looks like when you're in this group with Brian on this team. This is what this team looks like. That money is going to drop into 4 buckets. Right? You guys have all seen this, but I'm going to put actual numbers in here. Okay? So $3,540 coming to you. Okay? $360 is going to Keller Williams International. That's at 6% franchise fee that caps at $3,000. Okay? 600 is going to go to Brian. You may say, he's getting $600. Let me ask you, how much time do you spent with you until you got that first deal? Or the next, right? So yeah, let's get real here. And then over here, 900 is coming to the office. That's our split. Okay, so when you're new, when you're in the coaching program, that's what it looks like. You want to see what it looks like when you're on a team? Because for some reason, people may think it is different, but I'm going to just pretend this is a team. Okay, the brown is a team. We'll have that, that. We won't have that, and we'll have this, this. Because here's what happens. This first splits over here. This comes in to here for you. This goes to the team. And then this comes to you. And then all this still applies. So now it looks like you're going to get 1,020, 180, and 900.
That's a big difference for like the time that you're putting on a house, to me. That's a huge difference.
Is that a surprise? Is that a surprise? Did you already understand? You already knew?
After our chat, yes.
That's-
Huh?
I said after our chat, yes.
Yeah.
And by the way,
Very
guys,
happy.
that's on a 50-50 split.
Yeah.
There's some teams in here that do a 60-40, 60 to the team, 40 to you. It depends on how much they're paying, how much they're providing you and stuff like that.
I mean, it's just.
Because let me tell you that, see, this is what they get. Teams have a lot of expense because they have staff, right? So they're not even just splitting with buyers and agent buyers. They have to pay all the staff. They're paying for, perhaps they're paying for some lead generation stuff. They're paying for leads. They have the expenses. So a lot of people are like, well, why on earth can I give up 50%? Now, let me tell you why people will give up 50% if they're already trained. This is the difference. Already trained. A team is there, then they are interested in you. They are really interested in people that are already trained. They're committed. They're already doing the work. They're doing the deal. Many teams are, when they're looking at you, I want to make sure that they're looking at what you're doing. They're going to be looking at what you're doing. And if you're not going to do it on your own, the chances you're going to do it with a team are probably about the same. And someone says, well, if I had accountability, I'd do it. Well, get accountability now. Because they're going to be, to do this, you got to do a lot for the money, right? And that's one of the beauties of being on a team. I'm not disrespecting teams, do not get me wrong. What I don't want to have happen is you guys just wait to find a team before a team is willing to take you. Right? So let's get some work done. After you do your 30, 60, 90 days, you're rocking it, you're starting to do things. Now you've got what we call a little bit of experience. Then the opportunity, but then you're in a better place to make a decision. See, because right now it comes out of scarcity. It comes out of, I don't have any business. And if I go to a team, I'll have business. And you might. But let me tell you what most of the team, the Rainmakers are doing. They're saying, get out there and nurture some stuff. And let's see what turns up. Because it's just a reality. And I did not want anyone to get sucked into something that might not be 100%. I wanted you to know the whole picture. So now, you talk to people on teams, and they're like, yeah, I split all the money. I split it all. But let me tell you, I've earned it, and I lead generate, and I've cultivated. Now, because I am doing that, and I don't have to do that contract to close stuff, the TC stuff, now instead of closing 3 deals a month, I can close 6 or 7. So I'm willing to give up money for additional leads so that I can close more. That's it. Is there camaraderie? Absolutely. There's camaraderie in this group, right? And Brian is going to be bringing incredible stuff to help you. Your part Get that 30, 60, 90 day done. Get that checklist, man, and just start checking it off. So you're really, I was in Paul Valley today, and Skylar was talking about you. Were your ears ringing? They were burning. She said, you're just really, plugging away at that 30, 60, 90 day. And she said, you already got some business written. How many?
2 other things.
Look at you go, girl. But do you know what she's doing? She is putting her time and effort into that 30, 60, 90 days. I'm telling you, you don't want to do it. I get it. You don't want to do it. It's hard, it's a lot, it's overwhelming. I've heard it all and I get it. I say, chunk it down. I'm going to say, I'm going to do one thing a day. What is the one thing on there a day that I'm going to do? And then just keep at it because it will happen. I promise. I was on a video or a Zoom the other day, and there was a gal talking about her first year in real estate. She said, I was a machine. They told me to lead gen 3 hours a day, and I did it. And reminds me of you and your story a little bit. Working, coming out saying, it's not working. Keep doing it. I just say, keep doing it. It's not working, it's not working, it's not working. This gal sold 2 houses her first 6 months. And she was like, it's not working. But she kept at it because she says, they told me it would work, but I had to do it every day. They told me it would work. So the second 6 months, she closed 22 houses. All that work she did, it pays off. The problem is, it's not paying them fast enough. Right? Andy, you get it? It's not paying them fast enough.
That's what people will be like, have you sold a house yet? And I'm like, I'm trying, but like, there's nothing like my clients are like, there's nothing on the market for him. Like, I just don't know what to say when people ask me that. I'm like,
So it's not that easy.
We're not dealers.
Here's the deal. Honestly, here's why, you know how you answer that? You say, right now the market is favoring the sellers. Yeah, it's a seller's market. And you guys get ready for this because this is just the pendulum swings. Seller's market, buyer's market, seller's market, buyer's market.
That's a revolving door, that everybody's coming in our front door saying, I want to buy a house. They're saying, okay, come here. I want to buy a house. Come here. That's easy to walk in the door.
yeah, and that's what like I've told some of like my family members. I'm like, okay, remember whenever I started doing hair and like I had to build the clientele? Okay, same thing. Like it's the same thing. Like I just can't like
Sales
have
is
a
sales.
clientele.
Sales is sales.
That's like.
But I promise you, I promise you, you keep doing the work and you keep making the calls and you keep doing, and you may be going, I'm going to call. Okay, I just taught a class in Pauls Valley this morning and it was straight out of MREA, straight up lead gen. It's like, how do I do this and what do I do? I'm going to give you a couple of tips. Open houses are a little challenging right now because they sell so fast, right? Pick a neighborhood, and you go door knock. And you find,
Where your maps.
my
My neighborhood association puts, there's somebody at my door that don't have a mask on.
Yeah, so wear your mask, but here's the deal, I want you to find a neighborhood that has a house for sale in it. And I don't care if it's your listing, I don't care if it's even our listing in the office. You know, if, it would be awesome if it was KW listing, because you could say hours, right? And you door knock, because usually we door knock an open house. So say you've got 123 Elm Street is open house, you're gonna do this. You're gonna door knock 10 houses this way, 10 houses this way, and 20 across the street. And you're gonna go up to that door, you're gonna have flyers in your hand, you're gonna say, my name is Stephanie, and I just wanted to personally invite you to our open house. Here's a flyer. You see, I'm going around to all the neighbors because I wanna find out who you know that might wanna live in this neighborhood. Have you ever been to people's houses and you're like, oh my God, this neighborhood's awesome. And there's never homes for sale. Oh my God, I'd love to live in this neighborhood. People may know someone that wants to live in that neighborhood. Fantastic. We've got a house for sale right over here. If you'd like to, I could call them and give them the information. Okay, you're going to come from service. Then you're going to say something along the lines, and they're like, no, I don't know. Okay, can I ask you a question? What do you love about this house? You're going to be doing this. And they're going to tell you, what do you love about this neighborhood? What do you love about it? You're going to write it down. Because when you do an open house, you're going to quote, because this is what you're going to tell people. I door knocked, 20, 30, 40 homes around this open house. And this is what the neighbors said. Let me tell you why you're doing that. Because nobody else will. Nobody works that hard. They do the 3 Ps. Put an MLS, pop a sign in the yard, and pray that someone else brings a butter. 3 Ps. What are you gonna do that's different? Because now you're door knocking sellers. These are owners. What if that owner wants to eventually sell their home? I go, remember that girl? I remember Amy, she just popped around here and she's looking for buyers for that seller. Who does that, right?
Yeah.
These are contacts. And you do that neighborhood every month. Every month you walk around. And I used to take my dog because something about babies and dogs. My kids were grown, well, not totally grown, but something about dogs. Walk dogs in the neighborhood. People will come out and have conversations.
So I need to get a dog.
Yes.
So I need to
You
get a
can
dog.
borrow one.
But,
you know,
or you can take
the
apartment people, because mine does.
Well, I've been looking for an excuse.
So, but you see, there's creative ways to get out there and meet people. If you don't know a lot of people, there's creative ways. And then stay tuned, if you are interested, our technology committee, which you're gonna start seeing stuff on Facebook for all of our committees. And I want you to find one that's near and dear to your heart, but the technology committee this year, usually it's focused on command, but we got Heather for that. So this technology committee is gonna be focusing on social media marketing. It's gonna be focused on Facebook. I was just in Paws Valley, and one of our new agents there, she said, I used one of Skylar's listings. It was funny, I always use the address 123 Elm Street or 123 Main Street. I said 123 Elm Street, and Skylar was, I actually have a house at 123 Elm Street. I said, interesting. So anyway, Brooke used that listing, and she posted on Facebook, and she put it in yard sales. She goes, the reason I posted it in yard sales is because you can write more content. She goes, I got 5 inquiries. She goes, I called every one of them. 3 of them are in a lender. 3 of them I've already sent to a lender to be pre-qualified. So on one post, you can get 3 buyers. Ladies and gentlemen, because it's there. Find someone, because we're allowed to share listings here. There's a list on Facebook of all the people that are willing to share listings. So jump on there, start making posts, and just put it out there. See what comes of it. If you don't have a sphere of influence to call, you can call all your database, all your clients.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so like yesterday, one of my men says, I've had his hair forever now. He's like, I just bought some land, and I was like, he's one that like I can joke with. I said, the next time that you need some property, I said, I'm gonna be your agent and your hairdresser.
There you go. There you go.
And he just kind of chuckled and he said, I never thought about that. And I was like, well,
See, here's the deal. He never thought about it because sometimes we're secret agents.
yeah,
We
and
have to tell everybody. So, okay, guys, you guys are late. Get out of here. Oh, before I say that, do you have any questions? Does this help? Does this help with the whole team thing?
Yeah,
And again, this isn't a team bash, but I just want you to know, when you're saying I'm looking for a team, just turn around because we got a team. Because in my eyes, let me tell you what. If this team does what I think it's capable of doing, you're gonna be the #1 or #2 team in the office. It's a big team, but it's a team. And would you agree, you got a great leader?
yeah, for sure.
So, any questions for me? Any questions on all of that? Comments?
I mean, like, I do have a question, and it's kind of random, but like, if I want to share like an agent's listing out of the office, do I have to message them and say, hey, can I courtesy list, or do I just like, go?
You have to ask.
Okay.
You always have to ask permission, and I would prefer to get it in writing.
But I do it all by,
Here's the deal.
I do it all by email, and I save your email.
Yeah, say
Yeah,
it.
that's a good idea.
Yeah, you have to ask
Surprisingly, there's
permission.
people that say no, which I
They come from us, limited mindset.
can't
They're
figure
coming from
that
us.
out. It's
Yeah.
exposure.
I mean, that's how I feel too. Cause like last week I just learned I could share like listings in here, and I was like, that's good to know, because I did not know
And
that.
on our Facebook group, you're gonna see everybody that says, yes, you have permission, so you don't have to go to them. Everybody, almost everybody else, I don't know.
I think you're right in your office on
I think
Yeah, like,
it's
if
really
somebody
good.
posts something on the Facebook page, and I comment, oh, do you mind if I share this?
Perfect,
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we can just share, okay, yeah, cool.
okay. All right, there you go. Thank you, guys. If you have any questions, you want to talk to me privately about whatever, just give me a shout. Okay? I hope that helps.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I want to set you guys up for success.
We don't want to sell ourselves short.
Y'all, did y'all feel like you got something out of and you liked the mortgage guy that came?
Yeah. It's a nice refresher from stuff from previous.
Yes.
It's nice to hear it from him directly.
Right.
Yeah.
So they also, just FYI, we're done. Y'all can go if you want, but I just wanted to make sure you guys knew about this. He also has, other avenues that you can go that would help you in marketing and advertising. Some of you have seen Listing Booster and some of you have seen, what's the other program? I can't remember the name of it, but I'll find those and I'll email it to you guys. But it's a program where you can advertise your listings, or you can create open house flyers, you can create Facebook marketing, there's landing pages for websites and stuff like that. And one of those, they sponsor, you have to have a loan officer that sponsors you. Basically, they're paying for it. You get access to it. And it's co-branded, so it's gonna have your name and picture and contact info, but it's gonna have theirs as well. But it's really cool stuff. Like I said, it's a Facebook advertising that's free, open house flyers, regular new listing flyers, landing pages. If you go to my Facebook page, I've posted several of them about, listings that I've had, stuff like that. So,
Is it Ideal Estate?
no,
They may be flyers, maybe. Oh, I just gonna just send it.
yeah, a lot of loan officers they do have access where they can make you a flyer. So if you have a listing and you want to do like a broker's open, or you want to do an open house or whatever, if you have a relationship with a lender, you may contact them and say, hey, what you guys got?
I went to open house and just so stupid, I wasn't even thought of that. The lady brought her lender with her.
Yeah.
And they did applications at the open house, and I thought, why did I think of that?
Especially now where houses are moving so quick, if you actually get to the point where you're having an open house, that's the trick, is getting to the point where you're having the open house to begin with. Then yeah, that's a brilliant idea, because people are maybe, this is the time, if you're ever gonna write an offer on the kitchen counter of a listing, now is the time when it's gonna happen. This is when it's gonna happen, because houses are moving so quick. Anyways, we're way over time, but I just wanted to make sure that you guys had that info, so yeah, we're good to go.
Thank you.
This guy's business cards are just really cool.
They're so good. I know.
I know, so imagine they cost a lot more than